Hi, I'm David Moran from The Date, and you're watching the Rockpit's first video rockcast. With me is Rob, guitars, drums.
When's the new album coming out?
We got a new album coming out in July. It's called MASTERDATE. We'll be touring Perth, Sydney and Melbourne over August and September. It's a full-length player. We've had 2 singles off it already, and you can get it anywhere they sell decent records. MASTERDATE was an album that we put together based on what happens from a number of different people's point of view. So when everything runs out of time and electricity and life, what do people turn to and who do they become? So we've got a number of songs based on the fact that some days you wake up and you're fairly angry and you've got to go out there and be pretty decisive. And the rest is where you're actually looking for someone you lost and you got to find them, and there's a lot of things in between you and them and not a lot of law and order. When we were recording the album, we tended to try, it took us 5 days, and we were really aiming to get something tight and compact, and sound-wise we were looking to mimic what we do live. So we didn't do a lot of orchestration, we didn't add a lot of extras on it. We basically went in there, spent our 5 days, did almost everything. I think we spent 1 more day doing the final mix. The only slight difference on this one is a friend of ours came and she did a couple of harmonies on it, and I think she played a piano as well. Fabulous. So guitar-wise, I think a few guitars we used. What's your main guitar on the album?
Yeah, I use my Epi actually, but through the recording, I actually bought my beautiful Gibson Les Paul 2007 Standard, so that got a Guernsey on a couple of the tracks, but. Yeah, look, apart from that, MASTERDATE is quite a different album in that we try to do things simpler. I guess a couple of things that people who have listened to our stuff before would notice is that we've gone for 2-chord songs, and that's not very The Date, but Ghost Notes in particular was born of a jam. They had come up with a couple of chords, and it sort of grew from there. And I think I like MASTERDATE in that it actually developed from these 2 chords, and it actually became a song. And we kept the simplicity. We loved the simplicity, and it was fantastic. And it sounded good when we recorded it. Yes, the main difference on this album is actually the amp I used. The previous albums I've used the PV5150, which is a metal stalwart, which is not something you play for a blues record. But this time around, I got the Mesa and the Legacy, Carvin Legacy, and they give me more of a hard rock blues sound, and that's what I think we achieved on this record.
Nice acoustic guitars. Did we do any of that?
Yeah, we used the Gibsons that were laying about at the studio.
Down at Yo-Yo's. By the way, we recorded down at Yo-Yo's. Malcolm Clark used to run it down in Osborne Park here in Perth, and Simon Struthers runs Forensic Audio, which did the mastering also here in Perth. Mighty fine, both of them. Now, what have you been listening to at the moment, mate?
All sorts.
Tell us about it.
Starting with ZZ Top, just because they're awesome. Slash News, Slash Album. Jeff Healy as well. These are all guys that you get inspiration from purely because they're awesome. And it's it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I think what happens is no matter how much you listen to music, you're pulling little bits out, but it sort of sets your mindset into what you're really trying to get. So you might hear a riff or a sound, and it's mostly sonic.
Yep.
That you hear something go, wow, that sounds really good. How was that done? And then through that experience, you start to think, if I was to use that as my starting point, where would I end up?
Thank you very much.
Three-piece, rock, guitar, lyrical, focusing on a mixture of fun and, I guess, honesty. That's really where we're at. And so we're looking at a lot of things in the world. We're looking at the good and the bad, and we're really trying to slice it open, I reckon, and just expose what's out there. But at the same time, if you're sitting there listening to it, you're enjoying it. You know, it's got good beat, good riffage, and we probably have more fun on stage than you have. So that's our focus.
So who do you sound like? What sort of label would you put on yourself?
Yeah, tricky, very tricky. We're probably closer to ourselves than anyone else. I mean, without being a stooge about it, we don't really line up. We've got elements of different bands, I guess you could say. There's, you know, some of the intensity of early English punk, but Stranglers, for example, that sort of feel. So we're focused on musician, songwriting, the ability to deliver. That's really we're up for. We do the rock, we do the blues, but we probably do a lot more than that. I think that's an easy way of describing us. But when you listen to what we deliver, different again. Plus energy, always the energy, you know, and never settling for the normal. Because it's easy, isn't it? It's easy just to write 12 bars and be done with it. But we want the 13th bar. We want any bar we can get, actually. Yeah, it was looking for something that could put us out there in a way it was easy, quick off the tongue, and for us, any date's a good date. So it was pretty straight, you know. It was like, looked around, what do we got? And, you know, I don't know if you've ever tried to name a band, but nowadays it is just about impossible. And I mean, we've been the date for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe, something like that. We've been putting out albums. I think we put out Room for Two back in 2000, and we were the date before that. So even though it's only really over the last probably 4 years, I'd say, that we've actually settled down to the three of us, and we're now consistently putting out music. And, you know, singles every year, album every year, just chucking it out. Yeah, well, the new album is coming out in June. It's called MASTERDATE, and that in itself was a moment of brilliance. I gotta say that. You don't often get an album title like that just coming straight off the bat, you know. And the song MASTERDATE, which is going to be the lead track off the album, that was actually the 10th song that we wrote for the album. So we had 9 songs ready, then we dropped MASTERDATE, and it was actually quite a different song. For once, it actually had a funky roll to it, which is something we've never really sort of pushed at all. It's got a good groove, again, something that isn't, we seem to play a lot more stridently. So all of a sudden we've got this groove, it's called MASTERDATE, and we've done the album with the thought that, I guess from our point of view, it's like, what happens when the lights go out? You know, and the lights can go out for any reason. So what will happen? And the songs are representative of a cross-section of society that says, what do you do when the lights go out? You know, you don't get your medicine anymore. Your fridge isn't working and there's someone at the door. How do you change that up? So some people run, some people hide, some people freeze. And then you've got the other side of it, which are the hunters, the people that are out there trying to get what they can, because all of a sudden the rules and the law aren't there to stop them. So we chucked all this on the page and MASTERDATE. So we've got 2 singles out already, from the album, Looking Down and Ghost Notes, which is are both interestingly at 2 minutes 47 for those that do the numbers. So we're into that side of it, you know, the quick deliver and then move on to the next song.